Welcome to the golf edition of Hooked on Sport. This is South Australia's summer golf wrap, where we uncover the stories, personalities and moments that define golf across South Australia and beyond. It's time to talk golf with sports commentator Ben Hook and state golf representative Sophie Hilditch.
Yeah, good on you, Wallace. Thank you. Oh, I'll tell you what an amazing couple of weeks it has been in golf. What incredible few days it's been in South Australian golf. No one better to break it all down with me than Sophie Hilditch. Soph, g'day. How are you? Have you been playing any golf yourself and winning tournaments or dominating at the front end? Because it seems like we've had a few South Australians doing exactly that in the last week or so.
Yeah, hi, Hookie. I haven't been winning tournaments. I've been playing a lot of golf, which I'm really happy about because in the past I haven't played that much golf leading into our podcast. So I'm excited about that, but I definitely haven't been winning tournaments, but I have been watching our South Australians. It's actually been hard to know who to watch because they're all performing so incredibly well.
Yeah, unfortunately, you didn't perform all that well at Glenelg. We talked about winning a trophy there. We were 10 shots off the pace, and I'm holding you as captain personally responsible for that. But we did get the opportunity to see Glenelg Golf Club in its new iteration for the first time. Spent a lot of time with their general manager, Rob Vincikovich. We're going to be putting out next week the full episode of our experience of playing all 18 holes at Glenelg. Without giving too much away, Soph, just maybe give me 15 seconds on your memory of it all last Friday.
Well, my first memory, and I think Wallace will agree with me, is you can call me captain, but when you override my decisions on the first hole, I don't know if I'm actually the captain. I think I'll take co-captain, but I can't take full responsibility as captain as I'm looking at Wallace's drive and I'm thinking we're straight into the wind. It's a perfect shot. And you've just called us over. You've hit the ball in the rough, but you've got a free drop onto the fairway with a lovely little cross breeze and you think, yeah, beautiful. I'd prefer a cross breeze any day of the week, and we're actually further back from Wallace's ball as well. But you know what? Who cares? Ben Hook's co-captain. He's decided, so therefore we're taking that ball. But no, Hookie, I absolutely loved every moment at Glenelg. I think the reason we didn't particularly play well is we were too excited to take in absolutely every single moment and speak to Rob the entire time because Rob was full of knowledge, being able to tell us exactly what changes they've made. It is hard, I found, jumping onto a course and trying to remember what the hole used to be and what the hole is now. I had to keep asking, was there a bunker there? Was there something there? Most of the time I was right, but some of the time I'd actually totally forgotten what was there because you just get so used to and so complacent, I guess, playing golf. But I loved every single moment. I had so much fun. I also found it quite funny. This describes how bad we played. We're on the 13th hole. Wallace tees off first because you're having a lovely conversation with Rob and we've got him on the mic. And he just drags this ball straight left. The ball hasn't, I reckon it's barely left the club face. And from his back pocket, he just pulls out a cake that he brought from home and just starts eating a cake. And I watch his ball sail into the trees. And I think that describes it perfectly. There was free food and yet we still packed food because we thought this was just disappointing. We just needed to eat our sorrows away.
So a couple of things very quickly. Just remind me what score we wrote on the card for that first hole.
It was a birdie, but I actually think we could have got a 2 if we'd taken Wallace's ball. So it was always better and up from there.
That is bollocks. And that is why, like, you may take the title of captain, but I have to just reserve a couple of vetoes. And I used one there on the very first time we had to make a decision. And I'm comfortable with it, so great experience. Looking forward to sharing that with everyone in a week or two's time. Glenelg Golf Club. What an incredible transformation. I'm looking forward to everyone getting an opportunity to hear our thoughts and hopefully going and getting your own. So if you want to go Sophie Star, if you want to go my new tack of just maybe thinking about the sporting story that you embrace the most this week, just share with me your thoughts before we get into the real nuts and bolts of golf.
Well, I was really hoping I could say Hooked on Sport team here, but like we just spoke about, unfortunately, because I kept getting vetoed, Hooked on Sport isn't Sophie's Star of the week. I've gone outside of the game of golf only because I think I want to give every SA golfer, there was too many of them, just ample time throughout the rest of this podcast. So I've actually chosen sprinter Aidan Murphy.
Good.
On the weekend, he broke Bruce Frain's 400-meter state record from 1984 when he got it at the Los Angeles Olympics. It's one of SA's longest-standing athletic records. Aiden broke it at the Athletics SA Interclub 7, running the 400-meter in 45.12 seconds. He now holds SA state records in the 100-meter, 200-meter, and 400-meter. So, I mean, that was clearly Sophie's star. I also think it probably helps that I wanted to do Hooked on Sport, and it felt sad choosing another golfer. So, Aiden, thank you for performing so well on the weekend because you're Sophie's star.
Oh, so if it's an excellent call, I actually saw someone had filmed that race. He won it by the length of the straight. It was just remarkable how much faster he was than everyone else in that race. I reckon he started from lane 4 and he'd beaten everyone on the stagger before he got out of the back straight. It was something incredible to watch. You said that he now holds the 100-meter, 200-meter, and 400-meter men's open state record, and you're absolutely right. Do you know who holds the women's open 100-meter, 200-meter, and 400-meter state records?
No, which I'm ashamed to say, but I bet you're about to tell me.
Don't be ashamed, but it's his mum, Tanya Van Heer. So isn't that incredible? She broke the 100-meter state record in 1998 in Kuala Lumpur I reckon that must have been at the Commonwealth Games. The 200 metres in 99 in Canberra and the 400 metres in Melbourne in 1999 as well. So, yeah, Tanya Van Heer, who'd now be 55, I reckon, the mum of Aidan Murphy, and they both hold the 3 state records together, the 3 sprinting state records, the 1, 2, and 4 respectively. What a cool story, Soph. Well done.
The poor dad in that family household.
Yes. Yeah, he just sits there and claps them all along.
Let's take us to Ben's best.
Got to go with the Adelaide Giants this week. I think they've been the best sports story for this week. They're chasing their 3rd Claxton Shield title in 4 years this coming weekend. I tell you what, this competition's in a bit of disarray. So if they lost 2 teams during the last off-season, so they're down to just 4, Sydney, Perth, Adelaide, and Brisbane. Adelaide and Perth have been the mainstays. Perth have actually lost the last 4 championship series, but the Adelaide Giants beat Perth in the first of their 4-match series on Friday. That clinched them the championship series spot. They actually wore a tradie kit for the night, Soph, which is very, very cool. Normally they wear red, but they wore orange with like a silver high-vis reflective stripe around the waist as part of a tradie celebration. It was very, very cool. So I was pleased to see that. But they'll take on Sydney Blue Sox this coming weekend, probably facing a little bit of an uphill battle. Sydney Blue Sox will be warm favourites. But, yeah, when you look at where Australian baseball is, and that competition has wobbled a little bit in the last few years, but Adelaide has been one of the really strong clubs, and I think that's something to be proud of, because not only are we performing well in the ABL, you're seeing a lot of our players grow and develop and even make it all the way through to the major league. Curtis Mead, the most obvious example of that. So, yeah, congratulations to the Adelaide Giants, and we'll all be as a state celebrating and supporting you this coming weekend.
Love it, Hookie.
Righto, let's talk some golf. Probably the biggest tournament of the week, arguable. The Dubai Invitational was pretty big because Rory McIlroy, your mate, was there. But let's start with the Sony Open. Chris Gotterup takes it out. Overwhelmed, a very short course, YLI. Chris Gotterup in what probably wasn't the greatest field. He's a bit of a threat because he is just so powerful off the tee, Soph.
Yeah, his tee shots were incredible. Did you see the height he was getting off the tee shots? They were like little low bullets coming out, running to about like 330, 350. It was incredible. I think one of them only got like 50 feet above the ground. It was insane on one of the par 5s.
It's a bit of a sad thing, Soph, because that is a short, tight course. It's Seth Rayner designed. It's a wonderful layout, but the modern professional game just completely overwhelms it. They had to completely grow the rough up everywhere and keep it extraordinarily narrow. I don't think that's great for professional or amateur golf, but that's what we saw. They built walls to sort of protect tee blocks from people hitting towards greens on the hole before. You know, all of these artificial walls that people are all but playing into and getting free drops out of. It was a bit of a mess of a tournament, to be honest. And it's a worry for golf that, you know, there just seems no interest outside of what the R&A and the USGA are trying to do with the ball. But, I mean, we're seeing drivers that are being hit 330, 340, 350 metres. You know, in 2 years' time, they're going to be hitting the slightly reduced flight golf ball just as far. And more of these courses are going to become obsolete. And I'm sad about that.
You never miss an opportunity to have a grumble about this whole distance thing. So you ceased to disappoint me. What I took from the Sony Open was actually VJ returning to professional golf at the age of 62. He'd previously not made a cut since 2020. But look, he's used an exemption, which is on the PGA, and it's about career money earnings exemption to win a full-time position on tour for just the 1 year. And the rule allows former tour players among the top 50 all-time earners to regain that year exemption. But you know what? Straight off the bat, I think there's a bit of grumbles that he might be taking a youngster's position on the PGA, but he doesn't take anyone's position that is exempt or is in the top 100. It's those people that had to already go back and regain their tour card. So it's those people sitting in the side wings. But you know what? First PGA Tour event straight off the bat, he's made the cut. I have no idea what VJ plans to do this year. I'm keen to see what he does. Is he going to play 3-6 events or is he going to play a full season? Who knows?
Sophie, your point's well made. If you're looking for opportunities and exemptions into the PGA Tour, go and win 20 tournaments because that's what VJ did. Go and win some majors because that's what VJ did as well. Find it very hard to be all that critical of him getting this opportunity. It does seem incongruous. It wouldn't really happen in any other sport. I mean, it does allow you to still be competitive at 60 plus years of age. We've seen it with Bernard Langer, and now we're seeing it with VJ. And the fact that he made the cut in this tournament and finished ahead of 75, 80 guys, congratulations to him. Good luck to him. And to you, 70 or 80, if you're going to complain, well, start beating him consistently before you have the grumble, in my opinion. And that's where I would leave it.
Completely agree with you. Guess what, Hookie? There's still hope for you.
Talking about PGA Tour and a veteran returning, Brooks Koepka looks like he's due to make his return. We expect to see him, I think, making his reappearance at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Comfortable with it?
I actually am comfortable with it. I was a bit uncomfortable with the fact that we released a podcast and then quite literally 12 hours later, the PGA finally made a decision. And I thought
that was tough.
All that talk and, well, our podcast wasn't redundant. It was still a beautiful podcast. And you know what? We called it. We said we thought they were going to let him back in, but they were going to have to be pretty strict. And I think that's exactly what they've done. They've opened up the doors for only Cam Smith, Jon Rahm, and Bryson to return, who I think, maybe with the exception of Tyrrell Hatton and maybe Neiman, are probably the only players that they would want returning to the PGA Tour if they had an option. But Brooks has agreed to a 5-year forfeiture of the potential equity in PGA Player Equity Program, which that means he could miss out on about $50 to $85 million, depending on how the PGA goes. But he's also made a $5 million charitable contribution, which they haven't chosen the charity yet, and apparently that's to be mutually agreed. But there was a financial sacrifice for him. So it wasn't like they just said, welcome straight back. They did put it to him and say, look, you're going to have to pay to get back in, and you're going to have to wait 5 years until you can start making money from the PGA again. And I also think it was quite clear that players were happy with that. Like if you looked at Max Homer, he was posting about having Brooks back. Bryson's wife was posting and actually quite funny memes of her like traveling back to the PGA Tour, looked like Happy Gilmore on his way back. So I think he's clearly happy to be back. I think we spoke about it. He never wanted to go to live, but he was injured and he just made a financial decision. And at the first opportunity he basically said, yep, I want to come back to the PGA Tour. But the PGA has left this offer open to those 3 players that I mentioned off the top, Cam Smith, Jon Rahm, and Bryson, until the 2nd of February. All 3 of them have been asked about it, as the media does. I thought it was interesting. Cam Smith's reaction was straight away, I'm sticking here. I've got a good thing going. I love my Ripper team. I love being captain. I'm loving playing golf in Australia, and I think it's incredible what it's doing for Australian golf. He was so positive about the Live Tour. Jon Rahm, Bryson, all they had to say was we're contractually obligated to keep on playing for Live. And that's all they said. It's interesting, isn't it?
I know that when you start saying that you're contractually obligated to keep talking to me on a podcast, that things are probably heading south very quickly, Soph. So that was certainly the vibe I got out of it. Look, the thing for me is that the big names, McIlroy, Scheffler, the absolute top end of town, very, very keen to see Brooks back. That's enough for me. I don't think the penalty is all that much $5 million to charity when you took $100 million to go and play in another league for 2 or 3 years is a fairly insignificant penalty. You're talking about equity raising, missing out on that for 5 years. Well, it's sort of imaginary play money anyway. Who really knows what that's worth? So I think it's great. I think there's always going to be lesser lights and mules who feel like that they're going to miss out as a result. And I think that was Wyndham Clark who said, I won the US Open and then I probably should have gone and taken 2 years worth of live money knowing I could walk straight back in. Well, quite frankly, Wyndham, I don't think you're the sort of guy that they'd want the second time around. So I think the PGA Tour has placed himself pretty well here. It does, I would imagine, in the short term, embolden Liv to say, hey, listen, why don't you come and play for us? Because you're going to be able to get back in, particularly if you won a major. I mean, that's probably where the PGA Tour has had to show their hand. But in the end, if the big names are happy with it, that's really all you care about in the PGA Tour, and that's what they've got.
100%. I think the PGA limiting it has shown that they've got a bit of teeth, and they wanted Brooks back. I think it was pretty obvious. Like you said, the big names wanted him back. So therefore, they said, yes, okay. I think it does show they are going to be picky as to who they want back. If they don't want you back, they won't be making an exemption for you.
Yeah.
It's a gamble still.
Completely agree. Hey, just very quickly, I've noticed that there is some increased chatter about Liv finally collecting world rankings points. Do you think that'll happen, and do you think that should happen?
I think it's just chatter at the moment. I don't think it's going to happen, and I also don't think it deserves to happen. Yeah, look, they've increased it from 3 days to 4 days. There's now a bit of regulations about people being able to get in, and there's a bit more of a entry scheme level, but I still don't think that they deserve it. I don't think they've done the work yet.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how they have dropped 4 players who are in what was called their open zone,
Yes.
Soph. They were dropped for no other reason than they just happened to be in the open zone. There was 23 guys who were in the open zone, and they dropped 4 of them. So they were Matt Jones, Kevin Na, Junichiro Kazuma, and Max Lee. Matt Jones was essentially dropped for his nationality because they wanted to get Elvis Smiley into that Ripper team, and they had to leave Matt Jones out. Junichiro Kazuma was left out essentially for his nationality because he's Japanese and they wanted to call it Korean Golf Club. I just reckon that's going to jar with OWGR, and I think it's fascinating that Trevor Immelman is the head of the OWGR, who also works for CBS, which covers the PGA Tour, and PGA Tour relies on the OWGR rankings to be manipulated so that they always have a certain amount of top 100 players on the PGA Tour, which kicks in all of the TV money that they receive as a result. So, yeah, I don't know. I have been interested to hear that they are talking about maybe giving Liv some OWGR points. Maybe they've worked on the theory that so many of their players are so far down in the OWGR rankings now that giving them OWGR points is almost irrelevant because the strength of field would be so low. That's probably the only reason why you would give it to them, is because it's going to have an absolute, almost a minimal, even, barely a ripple on a calm stream. So I reckon that's going to be one to watch out. Let's turn our attention a little bit closer to home. So the Vic Open finished as we sit here on a Monday night. Just to declare, you're probably going to be hearing this a little bit later in the week. Wales's Lydia Hall won the women's event. She finished on even par. She had wonderful control of her golf ball down the stretch. Kelsey Bennett probably ruined the contest a little bit when she made a bit of a double out of nowhere on 16 with a bit of a raggy-looking chip from the rough. The big story, Regan Denton, who finished in a tie for 4th alongside another amateur, Jazzy Roberts. She just played beautifully all week in what was very, very difficult conditions. I'll just wrap up the South Australians. Crystal Blum finished in a tie for 12th at 14 over. Caitlin Pearce finished in a tie for 30th at 20 over. And Amelia Winnie, who I'm really pleased for, she's ranked 583 in the amateur rankings, and she finished in a tie for 32nd at 21 over. So congratulations to Lydia Hall, but certainly from our perspective, Soph, Regan, the story yet again.
Yeah, what an incredible few weeks of golf Regan has had, going off the win at Masters of the Am and then going and having the T4 at the Vic Open. And she, yet again, the composure, she's shown that she can play and win. They were gusts up to 70 Ks an hour. and she's shown she can flight her ball and do what she needs to do to get around a course. It's that classic, like, it can look a little bit, she doesn't care what it looks like. It can look a little bit ugly, but it's perfect for this kind of conditions because it means she can get herself, she's got herself from A to B to C to D to get that par or that birdie or whatever it is. And there was plenty of birdies on her scorecard as well, which I think is incredible under those kind of conditions. So yeah, Reagan, yet again, just one to keep an eye on, one to keep looking at because she's just having an incredible season. I can't wait for the rest of 2026 for that girl.
Caitlin Pearce in a tie for 30. She'll probably be a tiny bit disappointed with that. Made the cut, made the final day, the second cut as well. So there was a cut back to 35 on the last day. I just want to give a bit of a shout out to Crystal Blum. That was very, very difficult conditions. I think she started 4 over after her first 3 holes on the Thursday. So to hold it together on what was really, really difficult conditions, make both the cuts and finish inside the top 15, excellent performance from her and should give her a bit of impetus and confidence heading into the rest of the season.
Yeah, 100%. An excellent performance from Crystal Blum.
Even par won it, Soph. Second place was, 3 over. Third place was 4 over. And then the 2 amateurs were at 5 over. Look, it was very, very tough conditions. And the men, and we'll get to them very shortly, I think the winning score there was, 9 under? 8 under. 8 under, I think it was. So it was very, very difficult conditions. But is it right that we have, women making the cut and finishing it, 13, 14, 15 over? Or is that just, was the course set up too hard with the way the winds were for the women? And is it too hard to set up a golf course that suits the men and challenges the men without it being completely just unplayable for the women, like it probably looked like it was for much of the week?
Yeah, I always find this. I think it's really hard to set up a golf course for a tournament for both men and women. That we just play completely different styles of game. Both are awesome to watch, but both are awesome to watch for completely different reasons. Women just don't have the strength and the power to be able to stop on these kind of greens of 70k gusts, and they were firm greens. On the 16th hole, I watched the leaders come down, and that was the final group was Jazzy Roberts, the amateur, who did an incredible job, like you said. And then we also had Catherine Norris from WA's coming off a great performance at the WebEx. And then we obviously had the ended up leader at Lydia Hall. They were hitting 3 woods into the 16th green. And I mean, you then turn and look at the men and they're hitting irons in with height, and you can flight an iron way more easier than you can fly a wood. And I know you mentioned it, Kelsey Bennett on 16. She went through the back because she flighted it and hit it too well, and it went through the wind, which it often can do. But it was just a difficult second shot. Like I just don't think she expected it to shoot out like it did, and for her to hit it as well as she did, and for it to combat against the wind. I personally think it's just such a difficult task. The Vic Open is always traditionally played with women and men, and I think the scores are often reflective of what's just occurred. But also back in the day, the Vic Open and the LPGA used to run quite close. So the Aussie Open used to run quite close together, and the Aussie Open was LPGA co-sanctioned, which means the Vic Open field was often a little bit stronger than what it is currently, which means the scores might have been slightly lower back then. I think even par for those women in that condition with that course set up is unbelievable. And I think
agree.
It's unfair when you've got the men standing there and shooting 8 under, and it maybe cause some people to be like, well, what's going on here? What's happening? And I think it's not reflective of the women and their golfing ability. It's just reflective on the course is not set up for them.
I just think, to the untrained eye, you're going to see 8 under for the men and even par the best score for the women, and you're going to think that the women are inferior golfers. And your point's well made. They just play it a different way. The ball stays on the ground a lot longer the way the women play it, just because the capacity to hit booming high wedges that stop on a dime just isn't there. Exactly what you were saying about 16. Players are hitting 6, 7, 8 iron in the men. Women are hitting 3 woods. I mean, the capacity to get elevation and backspin on the ball. Lydia Hall hit an unbelievable shot in there. Jazzy Roberts landed it on the green, and it shot straight through off the back end through the first cut of rough and into that thick second cut. I mean, and borderline impossible out of there. Poor old Kelsey Bennett, that's exactly where she was, and took 2 to chip it out of there again. So Yeah, I don't know. It is such a challenge to, as we see the men just hit it further and further and further. It's my same argument once again, but it becomes increasingly difficult to set these courses up so that you're challenging men, but not just embarrassing the women. And unfortunately, I feel like that's probably what happened a little bit on the weekend.
100%. And it's like last year when the Aussie Open was with men and women and it was at Kingston Heath, and they actually went the other way and they softened up the greens to be able to get the women to make more birdies and have more birdie opportunities, because they were having 7-iron, 6-irons in, and the boys were having wedges. And then it was a complaint from the men's side of things saying, well, the course was set up way too easy. So I haven't yet seen a course that's been able to absolutely nail it and make it a course for both men and women at the same time. You either have to push the men so far back and the women so far forward. I don't necessarily think that is the answer either, because part of the beauty at watching the women's golf is you get the C shots like what Lydia Hall did on 16, which was just, it was this cut, punchy hybrid. It was unbelievable to hit at the front of the green. And I loved watching her play this course, particularly on that back nine. She had the lead. It was textbook. It was just fairways, middle of the green, have a 15-foot putt, might make it, might make birdie, might two-putt, make my par. It was just perfectly textbook. And I loved watching that because it really showed that she had to consistently think about where she was going the whole way through the round. Whilst I love watching the boys, but it's just different. It still looks like a birdie fest the entire time, even though it's 70K wins and they're having 6-footers all the time. And it's just a different way of watching the game.
I'm sure you've seen it, but I would encourage listeners to go and have a look at Lydia Ko's 3-wood into the 17th at the Old Course when she won the 2024 Women's Open Championship. That was an incredible shot. You compare that to Tyrrell Hatton, who was grizzling that he had hit a 5-iron into that same hole only a few weeks later, I think it was. Just puts it in perspective. I mean, that was one of the all-time great shots with a 3-wood. And that's something really special to see that you'll never see in men's golf, and it'd be a shame to lose one for the other. Talking about men's golf, Cameron John won the men's side of the Vic Open. He'd been paddling around as a pro for 8 years. He's now had his second win this year, won the Queensland PGA a little bit earlier, had a birdie finish. He still needed some help, and Nathan Barbieri gave him that, who went bogey par on the 18th and then the playoff hole. Gee, he started the day 5 ahead. He was 4 up with 5 to play. So he'll be ruining one, Nathan Barbieri. But Cameron John just looks like someone who, now that he's had this couple of wins, that might just be something he can roll on and really make a bit of a crack at not only the Australasian Tour, but even a DP World Tour. Been a pro, turned pro 19 years of age, so sometimes you can go a little bit too early. But I wonder if this might be the impetus for him to really show something on the DP World Tour in coming years if he gets some opportunities.
Well, it was a stunning final round, 1 under in those conditions, which was incredible to watch. Oh, God, it was hard watching Nathan Barbieri on that 18th hole. He's a par 5, he hit his second into the greenside bunker, chucks it straight over to the other side. And it's exactly what I was talking to our listeners about last week when I said, you're going to see the creativity, there's wind, there's slopes, there's so many different shot options. And he took putter, and I remember thinking, when I was watching, I was thinking, brilliant decision, safe shot, and he's absolutely blasted it 10 foot past. And I thought, oh, this is what makes links golf hard, and it's hard to watch, but it's also beautiful to watch. And he completely opened the doors up for Cameron John. After that final round, I actually felt like he was the deserving winner.
Yeah, very good point. Best story from South Australia, Lockie Barker finished in 4th. What a great weekend. He was at 1 over with 24 holes to play, and he finished it 4 under, Soph. So that's an exceptional last part of the 3rd round, and then a very, very strong final round. It gets them up to 26 in the Australian Order of Merit. And yeah, another guy that I just reckon if he can string a couple of good weekends together, we might be talking about him on a bigger tour than the Australasian Tour shortly. Still only 26, a massive future ahead of him.
100%. He's definitely on Hookie's watch list. You have been screaming the name Lockie Barker for months now. So I'm glad that he is starting to show his teeth. He's a beautiful player, a beautiful guy. So I wish him all the best. And it's a great tournament for him.
Let's turn our attention back to amateur golf. The Avondale Amateur takes shape. So it's Tuesday start. So whether you're listening to this a little bit later in the week, but it does get underway on Tuesday. 5 South Australians in the field: Alan Zinn, Declan Nunn, and Amelia Winnie from the Grange Golf Club, Kate Bryant from Glenelg Golf Club, and Reagan Denton, who we've talked a lot about, from the Royal Adelaide Golf Club. Have you played one of these, Soph?
Yes, I have played quite a few Avondale Amateurs. It's a beautiful course, an awesome tournament. It's run by the golf course itself, which sometimes just adds a special touch. All the volunteers are all members and they all get around you. I've always thoroughly enjoyed playing the Avondale Amateur. It's a tree-lined course. You've got to be straight. Traditionally, they normally set it up quite long for the girls. I know they've shortened it up a bit in recent years, which I wish I played it more in recent years because by God, I remember their 18th hole and it was an absolute brute dogleg left straight up the hill, par 4. And I think if I walked around with a 5, I was absolutely pumped. We were teed up right next to the boys. I remember they were only about a metre behind me, their tee blocks, and that was a par 4 for them and a par 4 for me. And I'm sitting there thinking I'm hitting the 3-wood. But we did just speak about it. Lydia Ko can hit a 3-wood to 5 foot. Why can't I guess? But no, it's awesome. It's actually the home of Grace Kim, who is a winner of the Avondale Amateur. So it's a completely prestigious event. And I wish all our South Australians all the best. I think we've got to keep an eye out on Reagan Denton. This golf course will suit her to a T.
Looking forward to seeing how she tracks. And we're going to find out. It's Monday night. We're going to find out on Wednesday what the performance at the Vic Open has done to her amateur ranking. I wouldn't be surprised if she's inside the top 40 by the time the rankings come out again on Wednesday. We'll keep an eye out for that. Just take us through the junior results very quickly that were played at Kooyonga and Royal Adelaide respectively last week.
Yeah, so the Kooyonga hosted the SA Amateur. We had Ollie Marsh winning, but we had an incredible performance and he's heading over to Avondale. You've just mentioned him. It's Alan Zinn from the Grange Golf Club, finished second. For the women, Jessica Zhu won in a playoff and Royal Adelaide's own Alice Cho came third in that event. I know she said she was a little bit disappointed with that result, but I thought third after her performance at Masters of the Am was incredible. I think she ended up playing something like 10 rounds in 9 days, so she must have been exhausted. They then went over to Royal Adelaide for the SA Masters. Hennessy G. Guzman won that event. And again, Alan Zinn with a second place. It was then Yisu Min for the women and Alice Cho with a second place. So an outstanding performance by Alice Cho. But also in the women's, we had Stephanie Keylock finishing 4th and Elise Kozlovich finishing 5th. So an excellent turnout by our SA juniors.
Great roundup, Sophie. And yeah, Alan Zinn, pair of silver medals. Nothing wrong with that, the young fella. I mean, you can't play defence in golf, can you? You can only post a score and hope that that's better than everyone else's. And if someone gets you, someone gets you. But lovely little roundup. And yeah, all the best to those 5 who are going to take on the Avondale Amateur. Right, let's just go a little bit around the grounds here. So a couple of interesting stories. I've noticed that Ian Devlin, the professional from the Tea Tree Gully Golf Club, and Matt McDonald, an amateur from Lynx Lady Bay Golf Club, have both earned PGA Legends Tour cards for this coming year. They both got through tour school. So congratulations to the pair of them. That'll be tremendously exciting. Imagine deciding that, well, I'm in my early 50s, so I might just turn professional as a golfer and make it on the Legends Tour. It's exactly what Matt McDonald's done.
Yeah, why not? Isn't that an awesome story? I can't wait to see what he does.
We were talking about Alice Cho just before. She's also a member of North Adelaide Golf Club.
Yes,
I'm not
that's
sure
correct.
if you're aware of that. You're across it?
Yep, she's North Adelaide Club champion as well.
I jumped on the North Adelaide Golf Club's Facebook page just a couple of days ago. I did note, Sophie, that they'd obviously received a fair bit of feedback about the new North Adelaide Golf Course redevelopment. Now, I understand that North Adelaide Golf Club aren't responsible for the redevelopment, but they actually put an admin notice up complaining about all the people that were grizzling and that they should go and have their complaints elsewhere. I was fascinated that we actually got a North Adelaide Golf Club member who decided to have a pot at us on our Facebook page just 3 or 4 days ago. So I am amazed by the hypocrisy that, don't come and complain to us, but we're going to go and complain to you. I thought that was fascinating. But while I did spend a little bit of time on the North Adelaide Golf Club Facebook page, there is actually an Adelaide company that makes golf simulators. They're called Full Send Golf, and they've already developed a couple of holes that you can play the new North Adelaide layout before it's actually been physically laid out. So I reckon that's pretty interesting. Full Send Golf. Here we have a simulator product that's made right here in Adelaide and sold right around Australia. So that might be something to look into, Soph.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't actually know that Full Send had been doing that. Might have to have a crack at it. What holes have they got up? Do you know?
The 4th and the 10th, I think it was. The 4th, I suspect, is going to play as that elevated tee that plays back down to the city. So I reckon that might be the current 3rd on the south course. Beautiful views, wonderful vistas. It made sense that that was one of the holes. The 10th, I can't recall off the top of my head where the 10th is going to be. I reckon they've got sort of reversible nines back over towards the western side of the course. So I suspect it's somewhere over there. Yeah, the 4th and the 10th, the 2 holes that Full Send have already done. So good on them for getting onto that so quickly. I reckon that'll be fun to see in the coming weeks and months if they get all 18 holes up. I just want to note that the Grange Golf Club will host its centenary celebrations this year. They've already had a party underway. They had a wonderful outdoor under the stars dinner, sent some fireworks off. I reckon the neighbours around the Grange Golf Course precinct would have been absolutely thrilled by that. But yeah, all the best to the Grange. Of course, their final year hosting Live. I think that was one of the catalysts for getting involved in Live Golf was they wanted something to celebrate their centenary, a big major event. They've certainly got one with Live, and yeah, they've kicked off the celebrations in style. That'll be fun to watch this year as that plays out.
100%. Knowing the Grange Golf Club, those celebrations will be going for the entire year. And hopefully I get maybe a little bit of an invite to a couple of them because the Grange members always have fun. They love their golf course. So they are well deserving of celebrating a centenary. It's awesome. And the Grange Golf Club, final year of Live, how good.
Yeah, they're actually using the final year of Live. I've noticed they've posted an advert only in the last few days that they're going to open up the Live golf course for the public to play, I reckon around about 7 or 8 times over the course of the year. $450 to front up and play, so they don't miss you. I think a gift on arrival or something like that. I'll be interested to see how that goes. Probably a good opportunity to try and make a last little lug of cash as Live begins to make its way to Kooyonga after this year. The advertising's interesting because they do talk about how you get the opportunity to play the watering hole and all of those famous holes where the build out is, but then there's a little asterisk at the bottom. Oh, by the way, none of the build out will be there then. It's just like playing it for most of the year. So good on them. I mean, it's a wonderful service that they've given to South Australia Golf and Live in particular. I've talked that up all the way through. I think it's been pretty incredible, the contribution that those members have made to South Australian golf, and it certainly put us on the map. And yeah, anything they can do to maybe put a few bucks back in their pocket over the course of this year, good luck to them.
100%. They should be taking full advantage of that because I completely agree with you. The Grange Golf Club has done an incredible job hosting Live. I've enjoyed every single experience there. I've heard they've actually increased the 18th stand to 2 levels now.
My goodness.
I know. It's huge. I can't wait to... Oh, I won't be on top of it because it's way too expensive for me to go on top of it. Looks like fun.
Yeah. The one interesting thing about Live is you don't need to move. The beautiful thing is, unless you're desperate to follow a group, and you almost don't need to because there's enough talent coming around, but you can sort of sit yourself up on one spot, whether it's 18 or whether it's 14 or whatever, and you kind of see the whole field come through. And I think that's a nice way to go about it rather than constantly following 1 or 2 particular players and fighting constantly with the crowd to get in and amongst them. So yeah, as much as the 18th, that obviously is going to have a great build out because generally that's where the tournament's going to be finished. Occasionally be on the 17th, but generally you'd like to think the leaders who start on the 1st are going to finish on the 18th. The beauty of it is you can sort of sit anywhere you like. If you're on anywhere on the last 4 or 5 holes, you're going to see the leaders, and that's what you're really after.
Yeah, I've done a great job at parking myself at a couple of those other par 3s, not the watering hole, but I've learnt my lesson. I parked myself, I think it's the 3rd hole. It plays as the 3rd hole. It's that long par 3, which I think it's actually the 3rd on the Grange East.
It's the 12th. The 12th on Grange East. Sorry? Yeah.
Parked myself there, and my mum's friend actually got hit by a stray ball from Bryson DeChambeau off. It's the 9th hole for the Grange East, and I think it's the 18th hole for Grange East, and it plays as the 9th hole.
Correct.
And he hit her straight in the shoulder blade from the 9th ball, and she's knocked the ball straight under a tree accidentally because it's hit her shoulder. You should have seen the bruise. You should have seen the reaction from Bryson. It wasn't particularly friendly.
Did she get the signed glove, or was he so filthy at the break that there was no such thing as an apology?
No, she got some profanity instead.
Right. Oh, that's tough. Hey, round me out with a little practice hack for the week.
Now, my practice hack is actually aimed at myself because Neil Crafter, who you're interviewing on Friday at Glenelg Golf Club, and we're going back to Glenelg Golf Club, got me good with depth perception. I thought this bunker was right next to the green, and it turns out it's 40 metres short of the green.
On the fifth.
On the fifth, yeah.
Par 5 fifth, yes.
You remember it because I was playing with you and you were co-captaining or captaining or whatever you want to call it.
Took
and
my ball again.
Yeah, I hit a shot. I thought it was perfect because I thought, oh yeah, I can't scoot around that bunker. I don't have that carry. Turns out it's 40 metres short. So my practice hack is for myself for Friday. It's to bring out my distance finder and don't just laser your target, but maybe laser the things around it as well so you know your carry.
Very good, yes. Yeah, looking forward to that chat with Neil Crafter. I think Ryan van der Veen, who was the shaper, who they actually put on staff and did all of the shaping around that course, will be part of that conversation as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So last one before we get off it, because I don't want to blow all our cover. Where do you rate the last 6 holes that you saw at Glenelg?
Oh, look, it's some of my favourite final 6 holes in South Australia. It's absolutely incredible. I can't wait to play Pennant there because I think particularly whilst it's some of the best final 6 holes I've ever seen in South Australia, I think it's an awesome final 6 holes for match play. It's going to do or break your round. I think you can easily come back. I actually heard it's how Nick Vogt got over Cade Bryant. It's in those last 6 holes, and that's how he managed to win the club championships back at Glenelg, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Good on you, Soph. Great to chat once again. Thanks for your company over the course of the last hour or so. We will do it all again next week, and I'm pretty sure we'll be dropping our big Glenelg reveal, which is going to be a lot of fun. In the meantime, I'll see you back there on Friday.
Sounds great. Look forward to seeing you then, Hookie.
With the last putt sunk, that's a wrap on this golf edition of Hooked on Sport. Thanks for listening. Help us meet more golfers just like you by following us and leaving a review. We look forward to your company on the next golf edition of Hooked on Sport.